Another thing, we need to do the factorization is reducing the degree of polynomial, the degree of the numerator and the denominator of a fraction. For instance, this is a fraction, an algebraic fraction, not the numerical. X cubed minus 3x squared plus 3x minus 1 over x cubed minus x squared minus x plus 1. Now, let's first factor the numerator and the denominator. This is after the factorization would be equal to x minus 1 squared, and this one would be equal to x minus 1 squared times x plus 1. X minus 1 cubed over x minus 1 squared times x plus 1. This is squared. Let me write it here. X minus 1 cubed over x minus 1 squared times x plus 1. Okay. Now, this is equal to x minus 1 times x minus 1 squared, the numerator, and the denominator, this one. Now, this is a multiplication here, as you know, and here. So, we could, this one over this one would be 1, the whole thing. So, that would be equal to x minus 1 over x plus 1. You know, let me write it another way here. This is x minus 1 over x plus 1 times x minus 1 squared over x minus 1 squared here. So this is 1. That's what we did here. Anyway, now as you see, the degrees of the numerator and the denominator reduce to 1. So you know, that helps us when, for instance, it was required that you multiply this by another thing. You know, this is more easy to multiply this one, which is equal to that, or maybe you want to, you know, if it was required in some problem or some case that you want to find the maximum or minimum value of this. So you should do the differentiation, and this fraction, after doing the differentiation, will become an even more crazy fraction. And, and finding its roots, the values of x, which makes the fraction after doing the differentiation 0 is harder, because in order to solve that, you should solve a higher degree equation, and solving a higher degree equation or factoring a higher degree polynomial is generally harder. Or for instance, suppose it was required to solve some equation or inequation involving such fractions. For instance, this one plus x squared would be 0. Suppose you are required to solve this equation. So, in order to solve it, you should add this to this. I haven't talked about adding the algebraic equation involving fraction, but that would be something like that. Minus x squared minus x plus 1, and this thing here, x cubed minus 3x squared plus 3x minus 1 plus x minus 1 over x plus 1 plus this one times this one, denominator, plus x squared times x3 minus x cubed minus x squared minus x plus 1. That would be equal to 0. And in order here we have a fraction which is equal to 0, so its denominator should be equal to 0. We should solve such equation, which degree is which is a degree of 5. This is x. If you multiply this by this, that gives you a polynomial of the degree of 5. And solving it is more harder than. Instead of this, you work with its equal fraction, which here, after adding it, x minus 1 plus x squared x minus 1, and this would be of the degree of 3. Or if you are required to solve an inequation, say, which says this one would be find the values of x for which this one would be positive or greater than 0. And as I talked about that in the previous video, solving it requires factoring it. You should also factor the denominator. So, factoring polynomial of the degree of 5 is again much harder generally. Okay. Did I forget something? Oh, one last thing I like to mention is the application of factoring in adding and subtracting the algebraic fractions. In finding the least common multiple. Okay, which I talk about it later. So see you in the next videos.